Hi everyone, it's Selena with CMC Fine Art. In today's video, I'll walk you through my Procreate painting process for this rendition of Aphrodite. Mainly I used the watercolor brushes from Glanz's Aqua brush set. I did also heavily use the Oscillate brush from the Vintage Tales brush set for the majority of this piece. But here I'm using the wet brush from the Aqua set for the base layer of the skin. Here you'll also see me trying to preserve the whites of the piece, kind of like you do in traditional watercolor painting. I did paint over the entire portrait and then just erase the places where I was going to place some pretty bright highlights. After finishing the whites preservation of the base layer, what I'm going to do is make a couple of layer masks so that I can kind of paint freely in each separate area. So here I start off with the mask of the entire body, and then little by little go in and section out just the hair or just the skin and just the clothes and just the mouth. Here you can see that I have my color palettes on a separate layer just for ease of reference. I do find it just a little bit easier to have these pre-mixed color swatches based off of the values that I set up for myself at the beginning of the portrait painting process. Here I took a little break from the hair, mostly because I got bored and jumped onto the face. Here I'm adding some of the pinky tones and just layering upon layering until I get the right both value and general colors that I like. For the skin here, I am mainly using the middle color palette with the cream that I blended out with my red, orange, and yellow triangle preferences there. For the face, I stuck mostly to the triangle all the way on the right that has that grayish color. It's a little bit brighter on the value scale as well, just so that I can try to have a range between all three of those different values, between the dark darks, the mid tones, and the highlights. Here I am deepening some of the shadows around the eyes and around the cheeks. Still primarily using the color palette on the right, just because the values of the face are in the lighter range. I will eventually dip over to the middle color palette, just because those house my mid-tones, just to kind of deepen some of those shadows colors a little bit. And then for the cheek there on the right hand side, I will layer upon layer that one as well, and eventually dip over to the left triangle with my darkest values and actually switch it up a little bit color-wise into a cooler color palette so that there's a little bit more contrast between the warm tones of the face and some cooler shadows. Somewhere along the way, I lost about an hour and a half worth of work. My screen record just did not want to record, so I apologize about that. We'll just jump on over to our next phase. I did all of the shadow work and the midtones, so now I'm going to create an add layer and add in some highlights. I'll probably be tweaking back and forth between the shadows and highlights here for a couple of rounds until I end up at a place where I'm happy. just adding some small mouth highlights here. I thought the nose was a little flat, so I am just adding some highlights and some shadows to add more definition and tonal value to the nose. Added a couple little more streaks in the background and did a little bit of a Gaussian blur on the yellow streaks in the back. I used the Giesinski ink brush that just comes naturally with Procreate. Here I thought the hair looked a little bland, so you'll see me kind of tweaking some of the blend modes over the hair layer. I ended up surprisingly liking the subtract option, which wound up with kind of a blue tinged piece, which I happen to like because it gives the piece a little bit more contrast and seems to keep the focal point around the face. It breaks up that kind of orange-y, yellowy color scheme from the top half and the bottom half of the piece. But I also really liked the kind of golden haired option that I got with the linear burn, and that one is pretty monochromatic, but I did really appreciate that it kind of gave the whole piece some movement. It really helps your eye kind of travel around the piece. And I really just like both options. Don't really have a preference. Do you? If you do, leave me a comment down below. I'll have both of these up at my shop as well, and you can pick whichever one you like. Here I make sure that I'm on the right layer. I'm actually going to do some color correcting of the mouth because I felt it was just a little too strong. It pushed those values just a little too much. Now if you know me, and actually many other artists kind of struggle initially with their values and pushing them hard enough, but I have really been working on that for the last few years, and I think I'm kind of coming to a better place where I can consistently have all types of values to make your piece more interesting. But here it went a little overboard, and that's okay. So here I ended up doing a quick selection of the lips and then doing a correction of the saturation and brightness, just desaturated a little bit. Later on, you'll see I end up taking the plush pencil shading brush and using that to kind of go along the edges of the shadow as well over a layer mask so that I can take out some of the harshness of the edges and try to make that blend in a little bit better. Thank you all for watching. I hope you enjoyed my Procreate painting process of Aphrodite. If you like this video, help me keep making more videos for you to enjoy by hitting that like and subscribe button. Thank you and blessed be.